ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀਓ। ਧਨ ਜੀਓ ਤਹ ਕੋ ਜਗ ਮੈਂ, ਮੁਖ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਚਿਤ ਮੈਂ ਜੁਦ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ। ਦੇਹ ਅਨਿਤ ਨਾਨਿਤ ਰਹੈ, ਜਸ ਨਾਵ ਚੜੇ ਭਵ ਸਾਗਰ ਤਾਰੇ। ਤੀਰਜ ਧਾਮ ਬਨਾਏ ਇਹ ਤਨ, ਬੁੱਧ ਸੋ ਦੀਪਕ ਜੋ ਉਜਿਆਰੇ। ਗਿਆਨ ਹੈ ਕੀ ਬੜਨੀ ਮਨੋ ਹਾਥ ਲੈ, ਕਾਤਰਤਾ ਕੁਤਵਾਰ ਬਹਾਰੇ। ਗਿਆਨ ਹੈ ਕੀ ਬੜਨੀ ਮਨੋ ਹਾਥ ਲੈ, ਕਾਤਰਤਾ ਕੁਤਵਾਰ ਬਹਾਰੇ। ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਮਾਲ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਹਾਜ਼ਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਆਓ ਫਤਿਹ ਦੀ ਸਾਂਝ ਪਾਓ। ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਕੀ ਆਖੋ ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸੋ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਪਾਰ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਹਿਰਾਸ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਕਥਾ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਇਸ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਤੱਕ ਕਿ ਧਨ ਜੀਓ ਤੈ ਕੋ ਜਗ ਮੈਂ, ਮੁਖ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਚਿਤ ਮੈਂ ਜੁਦ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ। ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨ ਅਵਤਾਰ ਦੇ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਅੰਤ 'ਚ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਦਸਮ ਕਥਾ ਭਾਗਵਤ ਕੀ ਪਾਖਾ ਕਰੀ ਬਨਾਏ, ਅਵਰ ਬਾਸਤਾ ਨਾਹੇ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਧਰਮ ਜੁਦ ਕੇ ਜਾਏ। महाराज आखिर में ये बाणी क्यों लिखी? Why did Maharaj write Krishna Avatar? This Shabad we read last week, we got to the very end of that bit of Krishna Avatar in Rehraas Sahib that we read out. Maharaj says, I'm writing this for only one. I've translated it from Sanskrit into Punjabi Bhasha, simple language for you to understand, bridge and Punjabi. Why have I done this? Avar Vasna Nahe Prabh. I've got no other desire to do this but Taram Jud Ke Chai, to create inside every single one of us the desire to do Taram Yud, to free us from our bondage. Maharaj says there, free yourself from your own fear. Even the fear that we have inside us, it makes us into a qaid, makes us a coward. Maharaj says, free yourself from your fear. Use the gyan of the Guru to wake yourself up and confront all the inner enemies and the outer enemies. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਆਪ ਸਾਡੇ ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ ਹੈਗੇ ਨਾ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹ ਪੰਜ ਚੋਰ ਨੇ, ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਿੱਤਰ ਨਹੀਂ, ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ ਨੇ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਲੁੱਟਦੇ ਨੇ। ਬਸ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗੇ ਮਿੱਤਰ ਸਮਝ ਕੇ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਅਸਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਟਾਉਣਾ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ। Maharaj is saying, be fearless to kick out the inner enemies, lust, anger, pride, greed and attachment. So many people I meet that are walking on this path of Sikhi, they don't go any further because they're trapped by their own fear of what might come next. How will society treat them if they start to follow the Guru? And the thing here is we don't seem to have any fear, is what would the Guru think of us if we don't follow the Guru? ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਡਰ ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕੀ ਸੋਚेंगे ਸਾਡੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਿਰਫ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦਾ ਡਰ ਹੈਗਾ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਰਹਿਣੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਫਸੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਡਾ ਅਟਲ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ। ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਸੇ ਦੇਹ ਅਨਿਤ ਨਾਨਿਤ ਰਹਿ, ਜਸ ਨਾਵ ਚੜੇ ਭਵ ਸਾਗਰ ਤਾਰੇ। ਇਹ ਸਰੀਰ ਅਨਿਤ ਹੈ, ਇਹਨੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਨਿਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ, ਨਾ ਨਿਤ ਰਹਿ। ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੜੋ ਉਸ ਨਾਵ ਤੇ, ਉਹ ਜਹਾਜ਼ ਤੇ। ਕਿਹੜਾ ਜਹਾਜ਼? ਨਾਮ ਦਾ ਜਹਾਜ਼, ਅਕਾਲ ਪੁਰਖ ਦੇ ਜਸ ਦਾ ਜਹਾਜ਼। ਜਸ ਨਾਵ ਚੜੇ ਭਵ ਸਾਗਰ ਤਾਰੇ। Jump on the boat of singing Vaheguru's praise and swim across. So, the next bit from Rehraas Sahib, Maharaj says, Dohira, Raam Katha Jug Jug Attal, Sabh ko bhaakhat net, Surg Bas Ragbar Kara, Sagri Puri Samet. Now this bit is also read Raam Katha Jug Jug Attal, Sabh koee bhaakhat net. Now, this bit is basically in the medium size Rehraas Sahib, that's done by Taksal, Damdami Taksal. This is the one that comes in there. And now this bit is actually from the end of Raam Avatar. Krishna avatar was the 21st avatar of Vishnu, in the Chaupai avatar, 21st. And this is the 20th avatar, the one before. And Ram avatar, right at the very end, the bits we're going to go through now, from here until Dohira Sagal Dwar Ko Chhad, everything is in line. ये जेह्ड़े हुन शब्द है ना, ये वाला शब्द ते जद तक असी दोहरा सगल द्वार को छाड़ के गए हो तो हर द्वार ਉਹ दोहरा ये सारे एक साइड आने हैं. They all in the same part at the end of Ram avatar. So it's important to go through the Ram story as well, and I'll go through it in a little bit. Maharaj says Ram Katha Jug Jug Attal. That Ram's Katha, Katha means story. Say Ram's story is Jug Jug Attal. Attal means it cannot be moved, unmovable, permanent. So in every age, it's permanent, it's there. Sabh koee bhaakhat net. Bhaakhat means to speak, net means all the time. So they say everybody daily says this story of Ram. Now Ram was from Treta Jug. Satyug has got 4 legs, Treta has got 3 legs, Dwapar has got 2 legs, Kal Jug's got 1 leg. So the world is falling over like a table with 4 legs, 3 and 2 and 1. Kal Jug is the worst one, it's totally wobbly. But in Treta, Ram is there, and in Treta Jug, then Dwapar, and in Kal Jug now, even now, the Katha of Ram is going on. So in Maharaj says Ram Katha Jug Jug Attal is happening. है ना? ये कोई पुरानी गल नहीं है, होनी भी हो रही है. In India, every time they celebrate the Dasera and celebrate Ravan and Ram and Holi and also Diwali, they will tell story of Ram. So Ram Katha Jug Jug Attal is still here, है ना? In all those ages. Sabh koee bhaakhat net. People say this story, and it says Surgabas Ragbar Kara Sagri Puri Samet. Surgabas, Surgavasi, Swargavasi. Just, you know, somebody passes away, and they might not be a very good person, they might not have done a lot of japna, fir bhi we will say Swargavasi. ਹੁਣ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਪਤਾ ਸਵਰਗਵਾਸੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਨਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ, ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਪਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਆਪ ਕਹਿਤਾ ਕਿ ਸਵਰਗਵਾਸ, Surgabas Raghubar Kara. Raghubar is another name for Ram, Raghubar. So Ram is living in Swarg, Swargavas Raghubar Kara. Who is he with? Samet means with. Who is he with? Sagri Puri Samet. Sagri is like Sagli, all of it. Puri means a town. When Ram got Mukti, he took the whole town with him. All the people of Ayodhya that he was a king of, he's taken them all to Swarg. Yeah? So Ram took that people with him when he went to, when he finally passed away, went to Sachkhand. Maharaj is saying he took all the people of that town with him. Now this story is famous all across India, even in countries like Thailand, Burma, Bali, those places they know about Ram. So it's nice to figure out what his story was about. I'll go through it in a minute. But main point is that Guruji actually finished his avatar of Ram, the story of Ram Katha, after they finished Krishna avatar. Krishna avatar, although is the 21st, but Maharaj finished that early, and Ram avatar they wrote afterwards. Because we know that because they give the dates of when they finished everything at the end of the Shabad. So this is why, when you look at Rehraas Sahib, we first cover Krishna, then we cover Ram, because it's actually chronologically how Maharaj has said them. Although when they're putting Dasam Granth Sahib Ji, then they're in a different order. So the interesting thing is that Maharaj normally finishes off in the Rehraas Sahib. The Singhs are reading the end of the Bani. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਾਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਹੈ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਰਾਮ ਕਥਾ ਜਾਂ ਕ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨ ਕਥਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਅੰਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੰਤੇ ਪੰਕਤੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਅੰਤਲੀ ਪੰਕਤੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਰੋਜ਼ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅੰਤਲੀ ਪੰਕਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੱਤ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ. Guru Sahib's conclusion is normally in the end panktiyan. So in a way we're being daily told to read the conclusion to Krishna avatar and the conclusion to Ram avatar. Not to go through the whole story of Ram, but just to figure out what was the purpose of it for us. So Maharaj is going to explain that purpose in here as well. So Maharaj says after this pankti, they say Chaupai, this is in order at the end of Ram avatar. So Chaupai, after that Katha, that Dohira, Maharaj says Chaupai, Jo eh Katha sune ar gaave, Dukh paap teh nikat na aave, Bisan pagat ki ye phal hoi, Aad byach ve sake na koi. Maharaj says those who listen every day to this Katha of Ram. Jo eh Katha sune argave. Why is it eh Katha? We have to know where it comes from. Kedi Katha? Imagine you read this every day, but you haven't understood Ram's story. Then what will you understand by Jo eh Katha sune argave? Those who listen to this Katha and sing it, Dukh paap teh nikat na aave. Maharaj says dukh, sadness and paap, sin will not come near them. So obviously it's important to understand that this story is designed to teach us about pun and paap, how we should behave. Because dukh paap teh nikat na aave. Normally paap comes with its own dukh. जो भी ਅਸੀਂ ਪਾਪ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਦੁੱਖ ਤੇ ਸੁੱਖ ਜੁੜਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਾ ਬੀਜੈ ਸੋ ਲੈਣੇ what we sow so shall we reap so ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਾਪ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਟੋਮੈਟਿਕਲੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੁੱਖ ਹੀ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਹੈ so ਦੁੱਖ ਪਾਪ ਤੇ ਨਿਕਟ ਨਾ ਆਵੇ so it's going to teach us how to behave Mara says bisan pagat ki e phal hoi now bisan pagat why do they use this word bisan pagti because actually it is the pagti of Vishnu because Ram is the 20th avatar of Vishnu. So Bisan Pagat ki e phal hui. This is the phal, the fruit of doing Vishnu Pagti or through Ram. They say Aad Bead chal sake na koi. Aad means now, Bead means the future. No one can touch you. No one can touch you throughout all this time. So Maharaj is saying basically that if you listen to this story, you will understand about sin. And you won't be affected by dukh now and in the future. Which is perfectly true, right? If you stay away from sin. So what is the story of Ram? I'm going to try to go through it quickly. Maaf karna, we have to go through it. Okay? It is important to understand it because obviously Guruji has written this whole Katha in Dasam Granth Sahib. So we should understand what was the story of Ram. Different people will take different things from a Sakhi. That is the truth. So people of different levels will learn different things. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਧਿਆਤਮਿਕ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਉਹਦਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਅਧਿਆਤਮਿਕ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਸਟੋਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹੜੀ spirituality ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ. Somebody who's spiritual is going to look at the spiritual side. Somebody who's more warrior, more sort of physical, daily person, they're going to look at what applies to them in a daily way. So it's for everybody, but I'm going to go through the normal story and then go through another spiritual story that comes from the Vedantic Granths. So what happens is, a quick story of Ram. It's written by Valmiki actually, but Guruji is writing it in a warrior mode. So a lot of stories, a lot of battles take place, and they go to the battles in much more detail in order for us to understand how to fight in battle and get that Bir Ras. Now Dasrath is a king, and he lives in Ayodhya, and he has a son called Ramchandra, who's his eldest son. He's got many wives, but Ramchandra is the first son, and he's going to become the prince. He's basically going to become the king after Dasrath. One of the other wives of Dasrath, she's got a son called Parat. She wants her son to be the king. Actually, she's given that desire by her maid. Her maid tells her, listen, why don't you get your son to be the king? She goes, but Ram's going to be the king. And that maid, she says, no, you should get your son to be the king, then you can be the queen. You'll be the most important one. So, through temptation of the worldly things, the wife, she says to her husband, Dasrath, she says, remember, when you were injured on the battlefield once, I saved your life. Tonu yaad hai? She said, at that time when I saved your life, you said to me that I'll give you anything you want. Koi bhi var mang lo, main tonu de devaanga. The people that are older, like I grew up in India, so we know this story anyway. So, she says, you told me you can have anything. I didn't ask you anything then. I said to you, I'll ask you later on. So now I'll ask you that var. He says, okay, I promise you that. I did say to you, because purane jede raje hunde se o bachan de bali san. When they said something, they would follow it through. So she says to him, you promised me you give me something, so I want something now. He says, what do you want? She says, make my son the king, and then banish Ram out of here. Because she knew that he couldn't live here at the same time as Parat being this. Because Parat was quite a dutiful brother of Ram, half brother, but he was dutiful. He wouldn't have taken over the kingdom had Ram been there. So she says, banish Ram away from Ayodhya and make my son the king. Now Dasrath, he doesn't know what to do now. He's stuck. This is a really terrible thing she's asking him. But with all of his dukh, he still follows through with his bachan. he sends away Ram. Now when Ram goes, his brother Lakshman goes with him because he's very dutiful, and also his wife Sita goes with him. And Bharat becomes the king. The thing with Sita is, she's the wife of Ram, but he won her in a competition. The father of Sita, Janak, he thought his daughter is so amazing that only somebody really suitable gets to marry her. And so at that time, the person that he says that whoever can pick up this bow and string the bow and fire, they can win her hand in marriage. Now no one can hardly pick up this bow, and very few are even able to bend it to put the string around. Ram, he actually picks up the bow, he puts a string on it, he pulls it and he breaks the bow. He's that strong. So they say, yeah, Ram gets to go ahead and be the wife of... Now Sita is interesting because her father Janak is quite an important king. He's a bhaakhat, we talked about him before. But what happens to Janak is he finds Sita in the ground. So Sita has come out of the ground, he's found her, and now he's married her off to Ram. So she's seen as a daughter of the earth. So he lives in the forest. Now Ram has been kicked out of Ayodhya, and they're living in Banvas. Banvas means living in the forest. As they're living in Banvas for a long time, what happens is that there's a woman who is a sister of Ravan who fancies Lakshman. She tries to entice Lakshman, and even Ram as well. And Lakshman says to her, go away, go away. She gets upset about this. They say that, and then she attacks him, and she tries to kill Sita as well. And they said that Lakshman cuts off her nose. ਹੁਣ ਇੱਕ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਦੀ ਬੇਇੱਜ਼ਤੀ ਵੀ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦ ਬੇਇੱਜ਼ਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾ ਕੱਟਦਾ. So the way that it was used was that it was a besti was done. He cut her nose off. She goes back to her brother Ravan. Now Ravan's a very accomplished, he was a bhaakhat, but now he's become the king of Lanka. He's described as a 10-headed monster. Very powerful. He gets enraged and he comes to kill Ram and Lakshman. But when he gets there, he sees Sita, who's so beautiful, and now he wants to have Sita for himself. Yeah. So what does he do? He sets up a game, a chal. He does a game to get Sita to come with him. First he makes his beautiful golden deer. Sita sees his beautiful golden deer. She gets attracted to it. She says to Ram, go and get me that deer. Before that she was happy. She didn't think about anything but Ram. But Ram, Ram, Ram. She didn't care if she's in the forest or in the town. But she gets distracted and she says, get me that golden deer. When Ram goes to get the golden deer, he leaves his brother behind to protect her. Now, she hears the voice of someone saying, of Ram's voice saying, come and help me, come and help me. So she says, Lakshman, go and save your brother. He's in trouble, go and save him. Now Lakshman doesn't want to go because his job is to guard Sita. But she insists he goes, so he puts a circle around her. Lakshman Rekha puts a circle around her to protect her. These kind of things, people in the old days, when they used to have so much bhakti, they could do this. And even Bani says, Ram, Chogid Hamare Ram Kar, Dukh Lage Na Pai. I've got a circle around me of Ram. Anyway, Lakshman goes, it's a trap. While she's in this circle, Ravan appears as some kind of bhaakhat, and he asks her for help. He tricks her to come out of that circle. As soon as she comes out, he grabs her and he goes away to Lanka. He goes away to Lanka. Sri Lanka, what they call nowadays. Anyway, there he is in Lanka. Ram comes back, his wife is gone. Now he's got to go and find her. He doesn't know where she's gone. And anyway, through research and talking to people that had gone to help, there was a bird that had gone to help. He finds out that she's been taken by Ravan. And as he goes further to go and get her back towards Lanka, he ends up meeting an army of monkeys. Now, bear with me. But the monkeys, they're under trap of this bad king called Bali or Vali. And Ram wants their help to go and rescue Sita. So he ends up fighting this king Bali alongside the monkeys, and he wins, and he puts this he puts the good king of the monkeys in charge. I can't remember what his name was. Sugriv. Sugriv becomes the king of the monkeys. But one of the monkeys, Hanuman, very powerful one, becomes his main servant, and Hanuman goes out to look for Lanka. Hanuman's got these powers, he can fly. He flies across from the river, the divide between India and Lanka. He flies across, sees Sita, and says to her, come back with me. She says, no, I'm not coming back with you. I'm waiting for Ram. She's loyal. She goes, I want Ram to come. So he goes back and tells Ram, and Ram with his army of monkeys then, they make a bridge from India to Sri Lanka. And the bridge is made of stones. Each stone they write Ram's name on it. He's the avatar of Vishnu. They put his name on the stones, and the stones float in the water. And they walk across these stones, they attack and they kill Ravan, and Sita and Ram get together and they go back to Ayodhya. So obviously within this battle, there's 2 or 3 battles that are taking place, and there's Lakshman's character is very strong, Ram's character is very strong. So in this story you're here learning about the significance of how to fight, how to be loyal, how Dasarath goes through all this pain of getting rid of his son, how that woman has twisted him, how he comes back in charge, and the Banvas is over and he comes back into Ayodhya. And when he comes back to Ayodhya, it's around about this time obviously when we do Diwali. People celebrate Diwali across India to welcome Ram and Sita back to Ayodhya. So the triumph of good over evil is the idea. And the restoration of the natural order of things. Because he was supposed to be the king, he got taken out of his position because of chal and cleverness, and now he goes back to his place. Now there is a deeper spiritual significance, and like I said to you, I'm going to just go through that quickly. And this is from the Vedantic interpretation. Swami Chinmayananda, he writes this in a book called Vedantavani, and he published this, and so I found it online. I thought I'd share it with people. It's an interesting idea, interpretation of the whole story of Ramayana. Now, Ayodhya, Yuddha means battle, and Ayodhya means no battle, no conflict. So Ram is born into a town which is Ayodhya, and his father is Dasarath. And Dasarath can mean to capture your 10 indriya, because in our body there's 10 senses, and if we can capture our 10 senses and control them, in that pure body then is born, in this land of no conflict, to a father of pure father, is born this Atma Ram, Ramya Hoya Ram. The light inside us, Vaheguru, comes into this world, into this idea of a place of no conflict. You can see that in Satjug, there was no conflict. Everybody was living cool, and people knew what they were about, and they controlled their senses. And there the Jyot is there of Vaheguru inside every single human being, but in Ram. Ram gets married to Sita. Now who is Sita here? Sita is not the body, because she comes out of the earth, and if you know the story of Sita, she goes back into the earth. She gets swallowed up by the earth at the end. So Tarti to asi bane hege, te Tarti sa phir wapas jana hai. So Sita could signify the body, that we've come out of the earth and we're going to go back into the earth. Now when the soul merges with Sita, the body, you get, or she's Maya effectively, then you get this, what we are now, people. As we become people who are attached to the body, then we go into Yuddha. We leave Ayodhya and we get kicked out of this place of no conflict, and we start to come into conflicts. Like when we are born, we're born into conflict, we start getting attacked by Maya. So we're in this wilderness of the jungle, and in this jungle we have to figure out what to do. We have to be here for so long time, and then make our way back into Ayodhya, to back into the place of no conflict. Now, when Ram is inside in the jungle, there Sita, she's being very good and looking only at Ram. She's fine. Whilst the soul and the body is focused upon Vaheguru, the Jyot inside, we're fine. But then she gets attracted by this golden deer, and she, from her high level of being untouchable with her husband around her, she falls down, sends away the Atma, and is attracted by this deer, right? And then who comes to steal her away from her husband Lord? The soul. Because in Bani many times it talks about the Atma and the Sarir. And the Sarir is like the wife married to the husband, the Atma. And because of Maya, she gets attracted away even more. And at this time, who comes to grab her? Ravan. But Ravan is a 10-headed monster, and it's a bit like Dasarath, who was pure, had control over his 10 indriya. Ravan is somebody who's extrovert and focused upon the outside world, is only interested in the 10 indriya. So is attracted by whole of Maya. And Maya attracts us away from our husband Lord Ram. So she's there, but now when she's in Lanka, it's a prison for her. All of us now, if we're living outside of Vaheguru's connection, we're in a prison. But in this prison, Sita survives. How does she survive? By remaining devoted to Ram. She sits there under the Ashoka tree in Sri Lanka. Ashoka means Sok means dukh. Ashoka means in no dukh. She lives in this tree of no dukh, where we have to live in this world. Jo na dukh mein, dukh nahi mane. Do not see dukh in this world of dukh and remain attached to Ram. She's forever meditating upon Ram's name, saying Vaheguru's name. For us, the Guru Mantra is Vaheguru. So in that time, we remember our husband, Lord, and remember what our purpose is. She regrets bitterly how she fell from her high status to be with her husband, and now she's always looking back to Ram. What's interesting is, as she stays loyal and true, she starts to cry for Ram. In the Valmiki, when he's writing this Ramayana, he talks about the dukh that she goes through Sita. She's crying out for Ram. Usi tarike naal jehda Gursikh hai, when they get past the second stage of fear, second stage of the fourth stage of the Lama, in the first stage they're tarmi, they're doing the right thing. The next stage they start to have fear, they start to sort themselves out, dar jande ne. And the third stage they get to Bairag. Har tijadi lav man chao paya Bairagiya Balaram Jiyo. They get this chow, this desire for Vaheguru, and they become Bairagi. She starts to cry for Ram. And she's in a prison of the 10 senses, like we are in a prison of this world in the 10 senses. And in many ways, we think we're free when we follow what we want to do. When the people of the world drink, they follow their lust, they break their promises to be loyal to their partners, they do all the bad things in this world. They say, oh, I'm alright, I'm fine, I'm doing what I want. But they're not doing what they want, they're doing what their lust, anger, pride, greed and attachment wants. They're not doing what their soul wants. The Atma is not desiring these things for the body. The body and the Maya is desiring that for us. So we are all prisoners, and we have to escape from the clutches of the Panchod and go into the Gurus. Maharaj says, Band paya mere Satguru pure hoi sarb kalyan. I want to go into the trap of my Guru, not into the trap of Maya. Now, when Hanuman comes, it's like a signal to her to increase her faith and not be too worried. Okay, one day he will come for her. Ram will come. For us, it's like when we start to feel anand. We start to feel bliss when we do Simran. It's like a signal that God is not too far now. You've started this spiritual path. You've got a bit of gyan. You started to understand that there is Vaheguru inside you. And keep on going, you will get to Ram. Who those who have not experienced that ananda inside, they're still in doubt. They're still worried. Is he still alive or not? So for us, all of us, as Guru Sikhs, for you trying to follow this path of our Guru, we must try and at least experience that bliss of connecting to God. And when we experience that bliss, then we will get faith inside us. Bharosa. That we will know that aana hai, Ram ne aana hai. Anyway, what happens after that? Ram gets to her through the monkeys. Now you might say, why monkeys? But if you think about our mind, it's very chanchal. Asthir nahi haga. It keeps jumping around. In a way, the monkeys are like our minds and our thoughts that are like monkeys jumping around all over the place. And what does Ram have to do? He has to get this army of monkeys to work for him and not for the bad king, Bali. In here, he's seen as lust. So to get them away from the Panchachor, the thieves, and make them work for him, he has to fight a battle against the mind and get the monkeys under his control. So he beats Bali, right, and puts Sugriv in charge. And Sugriv can mean the reins of the horse. So now you're controlling that crazy mind, the crazy monkeys, controlling them with this rein, and now you can make them go towards your way. So they build a bridge. What's interesting about that bridge is that every single one of those stones has got Ram's name on it. So how do we control our mind? How do we build a bridge from where we are to where we want to go? Is through those thoughts of Ram. As we jump Naam, we build a bridge of contemplation, and our thoughts will get us to go across, and we will win this battle using our mind. The very mind that was a trouble for us will now become our helper. So Maharaj is telling, in the kind of Vedantic thought, this is how they talk about Ramayana. And finally, they destroy Ravan, Maya, and the senses. Sita and Ram become together again, and they go back to Ayodhya. And they become the good over evil. The story is kind of not finished yet, but the story's kind of essence for us in this sense here is that it's a story of the soul going away from God and going back to God. Or you might say the sarir, our body, being taken away from its true purpose and then refinding its true purpose. And with that connection, together, it goes back to a place of no conflicts, Ayodhya. Yeah? It's like the kind of what we want to aim for in our life. Interesting story, the Vedantic interpretation. The point I want to get to is that Maharaj themselves now, at the end of this Bani, they've explained Ram Katha. I've explained a little bit more of the something that the Vedantic people have come up with. But I want to go now into what Maharaj says after this, because they've said this, ki jo ek katha sune argave, duk paap te nikat na ave. We won't get sin to come near us, we understand how to act. But then Maharaj starts to give the date of when they wrote this Bani. So very similar to what they did at the end of Krishna Avatar. They say, Sambat Satra Sahas Pachavan, Hardvadi Pratham Sukdavan, Tav Prasad Kar Granth Sudhara, Pool Pari Leho Leho Sudhara. Maharaj says, Sambat Satra Sahas Pachavan. Now Sambat means the date. What is the date? Sambat in the Vikrami calendar, Maharaj says, Sahas, Satra Sahas Pachavan. Satra Sahas means 1700. Satara, so 1700, and then here Pachavan, which is Pachvanja, which is 55. So it's 10 years after Krishna Avatar was done, is Ram Avatar is finished. So Maharaj says, Sambat Satra Sahas Pachavan, 1755, Hard Vadi Pratham Sukdavan. Hard is the month of Hard. Vadi means when the moon is increasing in size. So it's that every month is in two parts, Vadi and Sudhi. Reducing and increasing. So this is the increasing fortnight. And in that fortnight, the first day, Pratham, the first day. Pratham, Sukhdavan. It's a day which is going to bring Sukh. It's a very Sukhi day. Maharaj, on that lovely day of the 1755, on the hard month, on the first day of the Vadi fortnight, they say, Tav Prasad Kar Granth Sudhara. By your grace, I finished this Granth. What Granth? The Ram Katha Granth, Ram Avatar of the 24 of Chobi Avatar. And they say, Pool Pari Lehu Lehu Sudhara. They say, if I've made any mistakes, appe deke na onu sudhar lo. If I made any mistakes, Maharaj, you sort it out. So they say this. So now, this is the end. And then the next bit they say, Maharaj says, Dohira. Netar tunke charan tar, sututrav tir tarang, Sri Bhagvat Puran Kiyo, Ragbar Katha Prasang. They say, Netar Tunke Charan Tar. They say now, in the Netar Tung, in Netar Tung Ke Charan Tar. What is that? Naina Devi is the mountain. And they're saying in that mountain, at the feet of that mountain, Charan. So at the feet of Netar Tung Ke Charan Tar, Satutrav Tir Tarang. Satutrav is another word for Satluj river. Tir Tarang. It's got so many tarang, so many waves. So they say in this, and the bottom of the Naina Devi mountain, where the Satluj is flowing with so many waves, what is that place? Anandpur Sahib. They're saying, I did this in Anandpur. They're telling where it happened. Remember last time they said, Ki Nagar Pavta Shubhakaran Jamuna Behe Sameet. Next to Jamuna in the town of Pavta. Now they're saying, what is the environment around them? I finished this Bani in 1755 with the Vikrami calendar, which they say is right next to the river of the Satluj river, and by the hills of the Naina Devi, which is Anandpur Sahib. They say Sri Bhagvat Puran Kiyo Ragbar Katha Prasang. They say Sri Bhagvat Vaheguru Puran Kiyo has completed this, done kirpa upon me and completed this what? Ragbar Katha Prasang. Katha means the Sakhi, the story. Prasang also means the stories. They say, by God's grace, I've been allowed to complete this Katha of Ram. Ragbar is Ram. In this place, on this date. So you know what, we can see that is before Guruji went away. When people start to question this Bani, the date is written into the Bani. Yeah? Obviously Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is saying, Tau Prasad, that by God's grace I've given this Sakhi and explaining it. And then Maharaj says this very interesting line. After this bit, when they tell when it was written, they say, Sad asad jano nahi, Bad subad vibad, Granth sagal puran kiyo, Bhagvat kripa prasad. Straight after this, in Ram Katha they're saying this. They're saying Sad asad jano nahi, Bad subad vibad. Now subad here means swad. They're talking about the flavor of something. They say, I don't know jano nahi, the flavor of what? Sad asad. If somebody's a sadhu or not a sadhu. Sadhu is a good person, right? Asad is a bad person. They say Sad asad jano nahi. I don't know about the flavor of who is good and who is bad. I'm not interested in that flavor, the ras of working out who is good or bad in this story. They're saying, I'm not going to give commentary, Bad, Subad, Bibad. I don't want to know the swad of Bad and Bibad. I'm not going to look at arguments, because Bad and Bibad means debate and arguments over something. So Maharaj is saying that I'm not interested in saying who is right and who is wrong, who's a sadhu, who's not a sadhu. I'm not interested in even looking at what the arguments about this katha are. Yeah, Bad, Subad, Bad. I'm not interested in the Bad, because Maharaj says in Bani, in fact, they say, Vad, kahe suna kije, rasna raam rasayan pije. They say, don't do arguments with anybody. Enjoy the taste of Ram's, Vaheguru's name. Not that Ram that in Ramchandar, but Vaheguru, Ramya hoya Ram. So, they say, Granth sagal puran kiyo, Bhagvat kripa prasad. I've completed this Granth, the Ram avatar, puran kiyo, Bhagvat kripa prasad. Bhagvat here means Vaheguru, Bhagavant kripa prasad. By the blessings and the grace of Vaheguru, Maharaj has finished this Ram avatar Granth. Now, Bhai Veer Singh Ji, they say that what Guruji is saying here is that Guruji's finished the Katha of Ramchandar, but they're saying, I'm not concerned if Ramchandar was a sadhu or not, who was right or wrong in that story. I've written out this story. I'm taking no responsibility for what is true or not. Also, I'm not concerned with the arguments and debates that take place in this story. They say, I've written this. Why? Maharaj is explaining why they've written this. For the sake of Bir Ras. For to create inside Sikhs the same thing. Avar basa nahi prab, taram jud ke chai. I'm creating this so the Sikhs can read this story, and inside them becomes this joy, the desire to take part in battle for righteousness. That's what Maharaj wants to create inside us. Now there is a couple more reasons. Gyani Sher Singh is explaining a little bit more in their Katha about why these Sakhi are in the Granth Sahib. And they say, you know what, there's one thing that Guruji didn't want to happen. They say that basically Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is writing these Sakhi for what reason? Gyani Sher Singh is giving that Sakhi. They say, if in Guru Granth Sahib Ji so many times Ram is referred to, not just Ram as a Ramya Hoy Ram Vaheguru, but also Ramchandar comes up many, many times. So the Singhs would want to work out what was the story, like I told you the story now. So it refers to part of that story, like Jive Japji Sahib Maharaj says, Tithe Sito Sita Mehma Mahi. Sita is sitting there, absorbed in Mehma of Ram. And she's sewn up Sito, Sita. She's sewn up Mehma Mahi in praising God. In in Karam Khand, Maharaj says the soul is wrapped up in praising God, just like Sita was wrapped up in praising Ram. So she wasn't getting distracted from her husband. Maharaj says you have to be like that in this world as well. So we don't know what happened to Sita, where she was and how come she was sewn up in praising Ram, unless we find out the story of Sita. But who are we going to go and ask the story of Sita? Who's going to tell us the story of Sita? You're going to watch TV and watch Ramayana? Yeah, turn it on. I know we all watched it. I grew up in India. We all watched Ramayana on TV. Yeah? Mahabharata, Ramayana. Sabh dekhiye. But should we find out the story from a Pandit? Because in those days there wasn't TV, there wasn't Wikipedia. So the Singhs have to go grab a Pandit and say, oh, you come and tell us the story of Ram. Now when they grab that Pandit and say, tell me the story of Ram, there's a risk. The Pandit will tell them, all these Sakhis in your Guru Granth Sahib Ji, they're telling you to worship Ram Chandra. There's a danger, isn't it? Because people twist things that are not Sikhs. Those that don't come from Gurmat, they would twist something to suit them. That's why it says in the Sikh Ratmarada, the Katha of Gurbani can only be done by a Gur Sikh. Otherwise somebody might twist it. And they do. Like for example, many Naujawan nowadays, especially the Indian intellectual Sikhs of Delhi, shall I say, I know quite well. Those people, they will read Osho talking about Japji Sahib, the true name. Why should we not read Osho? Because Osho is not a Gur Sikh. He is talking about the need for a physical guru, because he's a physical guru himself to people. And he's given the Katha of Japji Sahib, he don't understand Bani. So he's taking the English translation, putting it on top of Osho Mat, and giving it to people. People say, oh, it's very nice. It is very nice because he's got good English and he's explaining things from a spiritual point of view, but it's not Gurmat. So don't read people who are not Gur Sikhs, their version of what Bani is saying. Better to read from a Gur Sikh's point of view. So we've got so many Granths already claimed Japji Sahib. Why do we need to work out what Osho is saying? Let's translate all our Granths as well. So the things are going to get confused by the Brahmins and the Pandits. So Guru Sahib has written Ram Katha for us in their own Bani, so that we can become independent. We don't have to work out what happened to Ram from anybody else. We could just go to Dasamgranth Sahib and pick up Ram Avatar and work out what happened at that time. So we are independent. Behemotaj. Satgur Mera Behemotaj. Independent. We're supposed to become independent from the Pandit and the Brahmanvad ideology. So this is important for that reason. But also we learn about Dharm. Bhai Gurdashi actually says something very similar for the Sikhs. You know, we said it at the beginning, Ram Katha Jug Jug Attal. Bhai Gurdashi says that very same line. They say, Ki Ramayana Jug Jug Attal se udhre jo aaye sarna. They say Ramayan is Jug Jug Attal. In every age, it stays there. Those that listen to it, the Sharan of Ramayan, they become freed. Now somebody could twist this, somebody who's not a Guru Sikh could twist this and say you got to listen to Ramayana every day, and that's the only way you're going to become freed of mukti. But if you read the whole Sakhi, I'm going to go through the whole Shabad, you will understand what they're talking about. Bhai Gurdashi says in the first Pankti, say, Pala bura sansar vich jo aaya tis sar par marna. They say in this world there are good and bad people. Pala and Bura Sansar vich jo aaya tis sar par marna. Sar par means definitely. Pakka. Jo bhi aaya na, unhe pakka marna hai. Because Ramchandra also died. Yeah? Ravan also died. They're saying everybody has died. Yeah? I remember listening to this funny Sakhi. There's on YouTube, there's this idiot. Not me, I'm the other idiot. There's another guy on YouTube who's got a Sikh Sarup, yeah? And he's sitting there talking about Jai Sri Ram. And he's praising in front of Badr and all the Hindu people. He's saying Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sri Ram. He's getting them to say, and he starts to quote Bani and Guru Granth Sahib Ji to say that Bani is praising Ram. But you know that Mara says in Bani, you know, the Murak, he will get caught out because his Murukta will come out. So this Murak, he quotes 10 lines of Bani saying that Guru Sahib is saying worship Ram as in Ramchandra. But at the end he makes a very big mistake because he doesn't understand Bani. And he says, Ram gayo, Ravan gayo, jako bhav parivar. He's trying to say worship Ram, but then he says Ram gayo. As Guru Gobind Singh Ji said, as Guru Tegh Bahadurji Maharaj in Slok Maranoma, they say Ram gayo, Ravan gayo, jako bhav parivar. They say even Ram is gone and even Ravan has gone. They had a big family, but they've also gone. What Bhai Gurdashi is saying here, Pala bura sansar vich jo aaya tis sar par marna. Everybody's gonna go. So they say Ravan tai Ramchand vang Mahabali lad karan karna. They say people like Ram and Ravan, they were very strong, Mahabali, but lad karan karna, they fought and they became the reason for fighting. But just like they were good and bad, even that way they've also gone. Ram gayo, Ravan gayo. Yeah? We don't believe that they stayed. We don't believe that Ram is that Ramya Vaya Ram, Vaheguru. He's Ramchandra. We respect him, but we don't follow him. Then Bhai Gurdashi says, they say, Jar jarwana vas kar Ant ataram Ravan man tarna. They say although Ravan was very strong, even though he was very strong, in the end, in his mind, he put taram. The story is to teach us taram. That's the main point. Taram is to be learned. Ravan became full of taram, an injustice, and he became very powerful, but still he had ant taram, Ravan man tarna. Ram chand nirmal purkh, tarmoho sair patthar tarna. They say Ram is a spotless, nirmal purkh. He's pure, and because of that, because of his taram, even the stones, they float in that ocean. His name is pure, so therefore the stones with his name, they start to float. Yeah. Then Maharaj says, Bhai Gurdas says, Buriyahi ho, Ravan gaya, kala tikka par triyat harna. They say in the end, because of his buriyaiyan, Ravan left, and on his matha, he hasn't got a nice nanak temuk ujle, he hasn't got that. He's got a kala tikka on his matha, he's got a black mark, because he was looking for somebody else's wife, which is taram for us. For a good Sikh, we can never look at somebody else's wife. Maharaj says, even in your dreams, not even in normal day, on your imagination, they say, even when you're sleeping, in your dreams, never go into the bed of another woman. Yeah? Pul supne ho na jaiyo. Par nari ke sej, pul supne ho na jaiyo. Maharaj Guru Gobind Singh says, that even in your dreams, don't even go to the bed of another woman. So, this is wrong for us. And he was here, the stigma kala tikka of looking at partriya. And they say, Ramayana Jug Jug Attal se udre jo aaye sarna. Those people become liberated who listen to Ram Katha and understand about taram and taram. What is pala and what is bura. And then he finished off this shabad by saying, Jas up jas vich nidar darna. The last pankti is always very important. The translation on your screen is not a great ideal translation. What they're saying is just up jas. Just means praise. Up jas means not opposite of praise, i.e. people cursing him. Ravan gets cursed in India every year. When they do Diwali, they get Ravan or the Butta banake, they burn him down. They burn Ravan every year. Up jas, he is getting opposite of praise, getting cursed. And Ram is getting his just done praise. So praise and opposite of praise happens in this world all the time. Just up just vich nidar darna. They say, but the good Sikh, he knows that if you do good, you get praise. If you do bad, you get up just. So that person becomes nidar darna. Now why they use these two words? Nidar darna. One is nidar means to be free of fear. No dar. But then they say darna. You have to be afraid. What is this random thing, nidar darna? How can you be free of fear and have fear? Well, what he's talking about is what we all have to do. We have to be nidar, free of any fear towards doing the right thing. Maharaj said na, De Shiva Parmoye hai, Shubh Karman te kabhu na taron, na daron, arsyo jab jai laron, nischay kar apni jeet karo. Let me win without any fear, nidar. But then they have one dar. Which dar should we have? Nirmar pau paya, har gun gaya, har vekhe ram hadure. Have one fear, the fear of displeasing Vaheguru. The fear of breaking dharam and going into ataram. And this way we will get upjas. Because so we have to have some fear of our Guru, but we also have to have no fear of doing the right thing. So the whole of Ramayana is teaching us how to have no fear, because look at all these people, they go, what is right, they go and do. Ram doesn't sit there thinking, oh, my wife is gone, now let me go get another wife. Dime a dozen, so what? I don't want to go fight Ravan, look at him, he's got 10 heads. No. He goes, no, I got to go do the right thing. Many of us in our lives will have to do the right thing, even though around us, people will say, no, don't do it. Around you, you will have people say, I've seen people who've told, their wives have told them, if you keep your case, it's over. They kept their case anyway, and they're still together. Because when you bend for the world, you'll always keep bending. When you stay solid where you're supposed to be, the world will bend around you, you will be solid where you're supposed to be. So don't bend for the world. Stick to your Guru. Be nidar. Nirpo hoye pajo Bhagavan. Become fearless and meditate upon God's name, Maharaj says. Another way is when you do meditate on God's name, you become fearless as well, because you understand what life is really about. So ਇਹ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਚੱਲਦੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ. We must become nidar and we must become dharna. We must be fearful of Waheguru and breaking their rules. This is the main message of Ram Katha and the main message of Ramayan, to be fearless and yet have fear of God and not break the rules of Dharma. So, what is a Sikh to do? Don't have fear of the world, have fear of God. And there's a beautiful pankti of Kabirji that came to mind. Kabirji says, you know what I need to do to find God? He goes, "Mainu kuch karan di lod hai nahi." Because I don't have to do anything to find God. I don't have to go after God. Loki rab de piche bhajde ne. Kabirji kehanda main to piche bhajda hi nahi. What he says, Kabirji says, "Se Kabir, man nirmal paya, jaisa ganga neer." So Kabirji says, "Kabir, you know what happened to me?" He goes, "My mind has become pure. Jaisa ganga neer." Like the river of the Ganga is supposed to be pure. He goes, "My mind has become pure." Kabir man nirmal paya, jaisa ganga neer. So he says, "Pache lago har phire, kahat Kabir Kabir." He says, now, mere piche rab bhaj rahe. Now God is running after me, saying Kabir Kabir. We've got to think about this really carefully. We run after God. Maharaj says, apne man nu nirmal kar lo, Rab tuhadi piche bhajuga. God will run after you if you make your mind sorted out. If we become the kind of people that Guru Gobind Singh is trying to make us, pure, nirmal, then Maharaj says that God will come for you, because now he wants that nirmal person. He looks for that purity. We are trying to run after Waheguru, forgetting that we have to get the purity as well. Like Pai Sahib was saying before I got on the stage, they go, let it not be that we have this saroop but we don't have the actions. Myself, I'm a pakhandi. I don't have those actions. I'm trying to sort myself out. We are all works in progress, but we should remember this, that if we sort ourselves out, then Maharaj will come to us anyway. Kuch karan di lod nahi, apne aap nu sudhar lo, Rab ne aap pe piche aa jana. That's what Kabir ji is saying. So, in this way, when we look at this Sakhi of Ram Katha, it's not for us to say, well, you know, Guru Gobind Singh Ji is right or wrong for writing this story. Maharaj himself is saying, I'm not writing this for you to work out if Ram is a sadhu, you should follow him, or Ram is not a sadhu. I'm telling this to get you to understand what happened and what is dharam and what is adharam. Taram jud ke chaye. We want you to fight the righteous battle. And you know what? Right at the beginning of this Chaupai Avatar, because we've come to the end of the bit of Rehraas Sahib that goes through all these Chaupais and these Dohiras. We're going to go through Anand Sahib after this. I've got 2 bits left, I'm going to go through them. But I want to just recap. At the beginning of Chaupai Avatar, Guru Gobind Singh says something very interesting, just so you can understand that they're not telling us to worship Krishna or Ram. They say, Jo 24 avatar kahaye, tin bhi tum prabh tinak na paaye, sab hi jag par mein pavarayang, ta te naam beyant kahayang. They say, oh Waheguru, you've got people, tin bhi tum prabh tinak, Jo 24 avatar kahaye. People call these avatars the 24 avatars. Even them, they didn't even get one tinak of you, Waheguru. Those that follow the 24, they won't even get one til. Til tinak is like a little percentage. They won't even get a percentage of how great Waheguru is. So these people, they're not for us, Waheguru. Only Akal Purakh is Akal Purakh. And they say, Sabh hi jag par mein pavarayan. See, oh Waheguru, the whole world is wandering round in lost parami. They're lost in illusion, and it said, Tate naam beyant kahayan. Your name actually is infinite. You haven't even just got 24 names, you've got infinite names. So Waheguru, no one can reach them through just working out the Ram Katha and not following that. Waheguru is much deeper. Akal Purakh is above Ram Chandraji. And then Maharaj now says, in the same Bani, at the end of this pankti, when they say when it was written, and they go through why they wrote it, the last pankti we just read, which was Ki Granth Sakal Puran Kiyo Bhagat Kripa Prasad. What comes next? In that Ram Avatar Bani, Svaya. The Svaya which we all know. Pahe gahe jabate tumare tabate ko aankh tare nahi aanyo. Ram Rahim Puran Quran anek kah mat ek na manyo. सिमरत शास्त्र वेद सब बहु भेद कह हम एक न जान्यो श्री अस पान कृपा तुमरी कर मैं न कहो सब तोहे बखान्यो Maharaj says पाहिं गहे जब ते तुमरे पाए means your feet. So they say पाए गहे जब ते तुमरे. When I got hold of your feet, जब तक मैं तोड़े चरण फड़े ना महाराज, from that day तब ते को आँख तेरे नहीं आने हो. From that day I don't put my eyes on top of anybody else. अपनी अक्खां हेठ ना मैं किसी और नहीं रखता. I don't look anywhere else but you. पाहे गहे जब ते तुमरे तब ते को आँख तेरे नहीं आने. When I got hold of your feet, I don't look at anywhere else. I just look at your feet. राम रहीम पुराण कुरान अनेक कहे मत एक ना मानियो. They say Ram and Rahim. And Ram is Ramchandra in the Gitas and the Bhagavad. What they're talking about is the story of Ramayana. Ram, Rahim. Rahim here obviously is the Islamic word. So he's talking about the Quran and Prophet Muhammad and what he says. Because you know what they say at the beginning of anything, they say Bismillah ar-Rahmat ar-Rahim. Yeah, they say that at the beginning of anything. So they say Ram, Rahim here and Puran, Quran. The Puranas, as in Valmiki writing his, and all the Hindu Purans, and the Quran, the Islamic text, Ram, Rahim, Puran, Quran, anek ka hai. They say many things, mat ek na manyo. I don't accept any of them. Main kuch nahi manda. I only, Maharaj is going to say, what they do accept. They say Simrat Sastra Ved Sabh. The Simritis and the Shastras are the Hindu books. Now, one thing I want to just note on Santhya, because Singh Sahib is sitting here, he's Santhya teacher as well. People nowadays now, Panth, they keep saying Shastra, and they think they're Shastra. A Kirpan is a Shastra, and the Hindu books are Shastra. Please don't say Shastra when you're talking about Shastra. There's a big difference, only one little kanna, but it changes the whole meaning. So, Simrit Sastra, Ved Sabh. Ved means the Vedas. The Simriti, the Shastra and the Vedas, bahut ped hai. They say many secrets. Ped. Maharaj says, bahut ped hai. Hum ek na janyo. I don't know any of them. I don't accept any of them. Janna means to accept as well. Manna means obviously to man. Janna means to know. I don't know any of them. Maharaj says, I'm not interested. Why? Maharaj says, Sri Aspan Kripa Tumari Kar. They say, oh Vaheguru, tusi apni kirpa karo. Do your kirpa. Oh Vaheguru, what's Aspan? Aspan means jere hath vich kirpaan. The sword wielding Vaheguru. Namo Shastra Pane, Namo Astra Mane. That Vaheguru who holds the Shastra in his hand. Maharaj says, Sri Aspan Kripa Tumari Kar. They say, main na kahyo, sab tohe bakhanyo. They say, I'm not saying these words. You are making me say these words. What does that mean for us? That Guru Gobind Singh Ji did not read other books to get Ram Katha. They got it straight from Vaheguru. They say, I'm not listening to anybody else. I'm telling you the story directly from you. You're telling me the story, so I'm saying it out. Same with all of their Bani. Guru Gobind Singh is not looking to anybody else. It's not an amalgamation of Hinduism and Sikhism. Sikhi is straight from Vaheguru. Sri Aspan Kripa Tumari Kar, main na kahyo, sab tohe bakhanyo. Then the Dohira, which we all know and we love. Maharaj says, Dohira sagal dwar ko chhad ke kya gaho tuharo dwar bahen gahe ki laaj as Gobind das tuhar. Maharaj says, sagal dwar ko chhad ke. Dwar means a door. Sagal means all. All other doors I left. Chhad ke means to leave. Sagal dwar ko chhad ke gaho tuharo dwar. I have gone to your door. Oh Vaheguru, I've gone to your door. Nobody else. I'm not looking at Ram. I'm looking at Krishna. I'm looking only at Vaheguru themselves. Bahen gahe ki laaj as. They say, oh Vaheguru, take my arm. Meri banu fadlo. And save my honor. Laaj as. Gobind das tuhar. They say, Maharaj, take my arm and save my honor. Because Gobind is your servant. And Gobind here has got a few meanings. One, obviously that Guruji is God's slave. Gobind das tuhar. Gobind Guruji Master is about themselves. I am your servant. But also, we are Guruji slaves. Gobind das. We are the das of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. So we say Gobind das tuhar. I am Guru Gobind Singh Ji's slave. But one more meaning is that Guru Gobind Singh Ji, when they were young, their name was kept as Gobind Rai, but they had a nickname. The nickname was Gobind Das. Because Gobind Rai means the king. Maharaj said, Gobind Rai, he said, I like Gobind Das. He said, I like to be the servant. So Gobind Das Tuhar. There's a little story from our Itihas that was one of the nicknames. They called themselves Gobind Das. So, obviously for us as a Sikh, we're looking at this thing and we're understanding that Guruji is telling us, you know what, Maharaj has left everything else and gone only to Vaheguru. And they're saying, you saved my honor. Why honor? Because just up just. In this world, we get praised or we get cussed based upon our actions. And all this has been teaching us is how to keep our honor in this world, how to behave like a tarmi person, so that we don't get dishonored when we leave this world. We don't have that kala tikka on our face. Maharaj said, Jinni naam te aaya, gaye masakat kaal, nanak te mukh ujle, keti shutina. Their faces will glow. Maharaj wants us to go to Sachkhand, and we get praised there as well, and our faces glow there. Not we turn up there and get cussed out. Ki ye kaun aa gaya the? So we come to the end of the Katha and the end of this bit of the Chaupai Sahib. Next week we'll go quickly through Anand Sahib and the last bits of the Rehraas Sahib, all the extra shabads that come afterwards from Mandavani and all the extra podiyan as well. So in your Benti Parwan Kaniya, Maharaj Kirpa Kare, that all of us start to do the Benti to Guruji ourselves to keep us in his charan, and for us not to get distracted by the things of this world and fall at his feet and hold on to his charan and get saved. Ehi chahida. So we'll finish off the last pankti again. Dohira sagal dwar ko chhad ke gaho tuharo dwar bahe gahe ki laaj as Gobind Das tuhar. Pulan Chokha Ji Khema, Gaj Gaj Fateh Akho Ji, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Vaheguru